We finally have some good news for Drake. After taking a bunch of L's, he finally got what is probably a win for his team with the Not Like Us lawsuit. So it was just announced that Drake and his team can go into Universal Music Group's contracts, into their filings, into their documents, as he continues this insane lawsuit around Not Like Us. Let's break it down. So here's the latest update in the Drake and Kendrick Lamar, like the ongoing beef that just never ends. So, as we shared on this channel, Drake is basically seeking to go against Universal Music Group, which is the shared record label with him and Kendrick. And he really feels that it was the record label that pushed Not Like Us. This is the record that, in Drake's mind, it destroyed his reputation, it made him feel unsafe. So his legal team was going through what's called discovery in the legal process. So they want to go through all of these documentations. It's basically going on kind of a fishing expedition, like you're looking for something very specifically. And I'm not sure what that smoking gun is, but I have a few theories that we're going to talk about later in this video. But this is the latest news. So, according to Billboard, Drake can seek Kendrick Lamar's record deal and other docs in the Not Like Us lawsuit. This is according to a judge. So initially, Universal Music Group felt that Drake's asks were just too broad. Like, we're not going to give you every piece of paper that we have so you can try to find, some conspiracy behind Not Like Us. But a judge did rule that for now, a discovery process can proceed. So, Universal Music Group had asked Judge Jeanette A. Vargas to halt the discovery process last month. They argue that Drake's case was so flawed that would likely be quickly dismissed, and that the star was unfairly demanding, quote, highly commercially sensitive documents, end quote, in the meantime. So the hearing took place on April 2nd here in Manhattan. The judge did deny that. The judge had hinted in earlier rulings that she does not typically delay discovery before deciding if a case will be dismissed. So we don't know ultimately what the fate of this case will be. So in response to the ruling, Drake's lead attorney, Michael Gottlieb, said, quote, now it's time to see what UMG was so desperately trying to hide, end quote. So an attorney for UMG has declined to comment, and a spokesperson also didn't comment. So you might be wondering, what exactly is Drake's team looking for? So as Billboard says, though discovery is now moving forward, it's unclear exactly what materials will be turned over. But here are some of the things that Drake's team wants. And this is going to be related to anything about decisions about whether to omit or censor any lyrics from Not Like Us during the Super Bowl halftime show, anything related to the promotion of the song on Spotify and Apple Music, any communication with the Recording Academy ahead of Kendrick winning a bunch of awards. He swept the Grammys this year. And, quote, all contracts and agreements between you, Universal Music Group, and Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, his agents, or anyone working on his behalf. This is absolutely insane. So, as I've said on this channel over and over and over again, the fact that a rap battle is ending in court, it's just so 2025, and it's just so Drake, right? Like every single thing Kendrick said against him, he's now just embodying it. Like the sore loser, someone who's incapable of sort of like reading sort of cultural cues, what people want. And instead, he's now basically asserting that there was some large conspiracy, that Universal Music Group was this puppet master, and they were making sure that Kendrick was winning, that he was going to get the Super Bowl, that he's going to win all these Grammys, that people are going to love his record. It truly is the mark of probably like the sorest loser in the history of hip hop. And what's kind of funny, I don't know what smoking gun they're expecting to see. Because I think the problem for Drake and his sort of delusional stan base is that in their mind, there is no way that Kendrick could have won this battle. Like, there's absolutely no way. So if that's the conclusion, now they're working backwards. What can we find that makes it look like something inappropriate took place? There was some sort of like pay for play scheme. any way to undermine the fact that Kendrick beat him. Like, that's essentially what this lawsuit is looking for. And I think there's a lot of problems here. I mean, first of all, when it comes to things like contracts and corporate communication, a lot of it has to be confidential. I mean, do you think Drake wants his contract and the terms of his agreement with Universal, with Birdman, and with Slim, with Jazz Prince? Like, does he want those things made public? And we can see what he owes, who's sort of in business with whom. Like, I don't think he'd want that to be out in the streets. There's a reason contracts really are relegated to the people involved in the contract and their respective legal teams. This is not meant to be public information unless the public has a right to know. And here, all of this is just a personal vendetta against Kendrick. I think the other part that's really funny, that Drake really feels like there's no way that Not Like Us was a big record. But a lot of fans went in, and I would say, the hip hop industry, a lot of just sort of, fans as a whole didn't go in with the Kendrick bias. It really was, okay, this is a battle between, two contemporaries, two very successful artists. Let's see how this plays out. But instead of viewing it through that lens of, hey, you know what? I got a few licks in, but when all was said and done, Kendrick won. Drake is just like a dog with a bone. Like, he really doesn't feel like that can be humanly possible. So, it's no different than, any conspiracy theorist. You refuse to look at sort of facts. You refuse to take any personal accountability. Now it's about pointing the finger at everyone else. So somehow Universal Music Group was in some huge conspiracy where they were pushing Kendrick over Drake. And I just wonder, what if things had turned the other way around? Let's say that Drake had won the battle and Kendrick said, you know what, that's impossible. There's no way this guy from Toronto beat me. I don't know how he has all these plaques. I don't know how he has these awards. I need to go on this legal mission to find out. Would that look good? Like, is that something that Drake would tip his hat and say, yeah, absolutely? Because the thing about Drake that he doesn't realize, he is an industry darling. Like, take aside, the reported $400 million deal that he did with Universal. From day one, ever since he got that Wayne cosign, the industry treated him differently. And he might think he's this perpetual underdog and no one believed in him. He was just the kid from Degrassi. But in reality, as somebody who works in the industry and very much was close to what was going on at that time, he was treated different. And you can see the opportunities that he got versus other rappers in the blog era. And, one could point to the fact, well, okay, but he had this hit record, or, because he was a child star, they were able to put him in different rooms with different audiences. But what's to say that any other blog era rapper can't point the finger at Drake? Well, what did your label do? What relationships did they leverage for you that I didn't get? And once you start playing that game, you become a perpetual victim. And I think that's where Not Like Us and this battle has ended. It really is a grown man who's rich, who's successful, who has this loyal fan base, but he is perpetually a victim. And I don't think that he's going to find the self-esteem and the peace of mind that he's looking for in these documents. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the documents say. Okay, so you know how much somebody makes. Universal is a public company. Most of the C-suite and the top execs, their salaries are already public. This isn't some new information. So when he doesn't find what he's looking for, which is basically an email that says, we are going to make Kendrick win. It is our job to destroy Drake. It's going to leave Drake where? Just unhappy and miserable. Nothing that he's seeking is going to be found here. Both Kendrick and Drake are under Universal Music Group. So, it's one thing to say that maybe they're on different labels, but their respective deals, although Drake's is through Republic and Kendrick's is through Interscope, they're both licensing deals. Universal is still the parent company. So at the end of the day, as a business, it behooves them to make money. Like, it's not in Universal's best interest to alienate one of their artists, especially someone like Drake, who's so commercially successful. Why would Universal give you reportedly $400 million just to tank your career, right? Like, just think about it logically. Like, at the end of the day, a business is here to make money. And having to go through the lawyers and paying for all this, not to mention all the sort of like the publicity and everything around this, Universal doesn't want to do this. Like, from a business perspective, it doesn't behoove them to do it. Also, they don't have to. It is the most successful record label group between Republic and Interscope and all of these companies. They have the lion's share of the market. Why would they go out of their way to essentially undermine or destroy one of their assets, being Drake? Like, none of that makes sense. I have heard some conspiracy theories say that, well, Drake, he earned out of his original contract and now he's negotiating. So somehow this gives them leverage. And it's like, again, let's go back to the money. Universal wants to make money. And if Drake is making money, they're making money. If Kendrick's making money, they're making money. Like, the level of delusion that you think Sir Lucian Grainge, who runs Universal Music Group, cares about Drake versus Kendrick, like, just the level of hubris and arrogance, I find it really funny. Like, that guy does not care. He's too busy running Universal Music Group. I really think it boils down to the fact that Drake is so used to being treated with kid gloves. He thought Universal, he thought the hip hop industry, fans, the media, he really thought everyone would continue to protect him, make excuses for him, uplift him, because he's used to being treated like that. The rules don't apply when it's Drake. And anything when it comes to sort of the rules of hip hop or battling, they don't apply because Drake gets that get out of jail free card time and again. And I think it was a really rude awakening for him to see that not only hip hop is an industry, the fans, the OGs, but also pop culture as a whole, they like Kendrick. And Not Like Us is a cultural record. It doesn't matter whether you're a rap fan or not, you know that song. And sometimes that happens. It's not something you can control. It's very feasible that that record could have just kind of come and gone like so many other diss records. But it didn't. And I think it also reflects where we are just as like a population. People wanted to see this idea of, people coming together, a pop culture moment. Like, it's been so long since we've had one of those, a reason to be excited and watch the halftime show or watch the Grammys. And again, I think for somebody like Drake, he just can't put two and two together. Like, there's no way that he could lose. And no matter what happens, in this legal discovery, no matter what happens with this lawsuit, at the end of the day, Drake, you lost. And we could be talking about other stuff right now, your new music, other projects you're doing, but instead we're still stuck on this like goddamn battle. Like, I'm so tired of talking about it, but clearly the algorithm loves it and all of you love me to chime in. But we could be talking about other things, but we're stuck talking about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar because Drake is stuck talking about Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. So there's the latest update. I know, I feel like another day, another headline about this rap battle that just won't die. But I would love to know your thoughts. And, I was thinking about this. I would love to know, especially from men out there, where do you think this victim narrative comes from? Because, we're talking about Drake, but I've seen it in so many facets of culture. Like, I'm feeling it with like what's going on with Kanye, Trump, Elon Musk. Like, there just seems to be something about these grown men who are perpetually the victim, constantly blaming people for what goes on. And on paper, they're all like seemingly like successful and blessed, but they just can't let go of certain things. And I don't know what that is. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a sociologist, but I just feel like there's something going on sort of like in culture and in society as a whole. But I'd love to know your thoughts about all of this. Let me know in the comments.